following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of episode 110 of Top Rope Round. I'm Mike Hogan.
I'm just a cop.
This week, sorry to run over your lines here.
It's okay.
I'm just so
excited about talking about it.
We're going to talk about the draft.
Excited about talking about the 2016 WWE Draft,
which was on this past Tuesday on SmackDown Live.
It was.
Gotta say SmackDown Live.
Gonna say SmackDown Live, but we did find out some stuff on Raw. We'll go over that in a minute.
Yes.
But we gotta go over the rules first, obviously.
They had rules for this draft.
They did have rules for this draft. Raw gets the first overall pick only because it's a 3-hour show.
Yeah, I love how that goes, yeah.
Yes, so because SmackDown Live is only a 2-hour show and Raw is 3 hours, because they're the #1 brand, for every 2 picks that SmackDown Live receives, Raw will receive 3 picks.
I like that.
So essentially, in each round there were 5 picks.
Yes.
So in that case, 3 of those picks were for Raw, and 2 of those picks were for SmackDown.
On the tag teams, tag teams count as 1 pick unless the commissioner / or the general manager decide, hey, we want this one guy, forget the other guy, and then they break them up.
You say, I only want Big Cass over here on Raw. Then you no longer have that team. We also knew ahead of time that one team announced that they were voluntarily breaking up, and that's the Lucha Dragons, so we'll find out where they
And then we learned through the draft that the Wyatts were going to go separate.
Yes, we did find that out, so we'll talk about where they went. But then you also got 6 draft picks exclusively made off of the NXT roster. We'll let you know where they were.
And they were, make sure they let us know that. The 6 were coming from NXT. And there was 11 rounds.
11 rounds. I wish it would have been a more even number of 12. But they didn't have enough people. And then, of course, there was a list of WWE names quite weirdly, oddly left off the draft, because years past in the draft, even if you were injured, they would still announce if you were drafted.
Yeah, they still would.
But in this one, due to injury or special circumstances, there was people like Emma out with a back injury, not on there. No. This next person we'll go over in a minute.
Heath Slater was off there.
Yes, Heath Slater. I was going to skip him, but that's
sorry.
fine. No, you're fine. Because that one really made no sense. They just left him undrafted. We still don't know where that's going. But they turned the lights out on him. He was the last person in the building, supposedly.
I mean, he's mentioned Tonky Evolve, so...
Isn't that funny? It would be cool to let him show up there.
Yeah, he's a free agent, pretty much what he's saying.
Exactly.
So.
Luke Harper was injured with a torn ACL, so we don't know where he's going to show up.
Nikki Bella's still out with a neck injury, but she's getting better, so she's going to probably go where John goes.
The Rock only makes special appearances, so they didn't have a point.
It could be either one.
They have a point. You know he's going to show up on Raw.
Rose Menendez, she was, still out maternity leave.
She's still out on maternity, but I did see a picture of her recently. She's lost all the baby weight already. She was down at NXT taking a picture of the fans outside. Ryback currently is doing a contract dispute. He probably will never be back.
No, never.
Would not shock me if you see right front in TNA.
I know. Tamina Snuka, she's still out with a torn ligaments.
Torn ligaments? That sounds painful.
Yeah.
Triple H only makes special appearances. He does not need to be drafted. He's not a full-time wrestler.
That's the same as Undertaker falls in that category there as well.
Does. And then, of course, Tyson Kidd out with a spinal cord injury, and we still don't know if he will ever be back. It's just about as bad as Sting's, apparently.
Yeah,
so we may never see him again. That's why Natalya apparently getting a push, because she got to make money for the house.
Yes, I don't think he will be.
And then, on Raw, we found out the general managers.
Yeah, they kind of let the cat out of the bag on SmackDown, but Raw was a kind of a surprise.
They did. For some reason, they posted an article about it ahead of time. I don't understand that.
So like they wanted you to know.
Either that or did someone get fired? I don't know.
But yeah, SmackDown, they let out the cat out of the bag, leaning toward one way, which we brought up last time. We did,
and they definitely didn't steer away from it.
No, they did, but the Raw one, they kept that under wraps. There was no
People
clues.
were saying it should be either Triple H or Kane. And then this one just totally threw me off. I didn't expect this one. But the Raw GM was picked to be Mick Foley.
Yes.
And we'll just go over this little part right here. Raw received total of 33 picks in the draft, and their new announced team.
Which
they have 2 separate announced teams, which we were hoping and praying they would in this new era.
Didn't fall the way we wanted it to fall, but
no, it definitely did not. We got some rough ones on it.
Yeah.
But for the new era, it will feature on Raw Michael Cole, as always, the voice of WWE.
Well, they kept saying that. I kept saying on Cole when they were mentioning about the announcers.
Yeah.
They kept saying exclusive for Raw. They make sure they put Michael Cole exclusive for Raw on that one.
Really? Like he wasn't available for that.
Yeah, that's why pretty much. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But Michael Cole, Corey Graves. Thank goodness
I'm glad.
at least he's.
I wish he's on SmackDown Live,
yes.
but I'm glad.
This is part of the breakdown of this. We're going to talk about if it's bad or good.
Yeah.
Byron Saxton, I'm fine with him being on
yes.
Raw. Corey Graves, I'm just glad he's on the main roster. He brings a unique voice.
He's going to do Raw very good, yes.
He brings a unique voice. And then what happened on SmackDown?
And SmackDown, we had live. They announced the general manager, Daniel Bryan, which, let the cat out of the bag before it happened. They received 26 picks, and their new announced team for the new era will feature Mauro Ranallo.
However you say it.
JBL moving back home.
Which I like how they're saying that, because he was the main heel on that brand for the longest time.
And this right now, I don't know about this one, is David Otunga. Could be good.
They want to keep
might be old stinky.
They want him to keep his job apparently because of his wife. But I would have much preferred Mauro and Corey Graves work together.
Yes.
So.
But before we get to the rounds here,
not a big fan of David Otunga.
You may know, absent by a name is Jerry Lawler.
Yes, Jerry Lawler was not announced on the announced teams for either one of them, and that's when they announced they had a big article put out that they were changing things up for the pre-shows. I don't know if that's Raw pre-show plus the pay-per-view pre-shows, but Renee Young will continue to be the moderator on the pay-per-view ones. And on top of that, they said that, which they made it sound like Booker T didn't already do this, but they said Booker T.
I know, he's on both of them. He's on the Raw pre-show, and I guess
the pay-per-view.
I guess he did the SmackDown pre-show now since live.
So they're going to do a pre-show for that. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. If they do 2 pre-shows, I can see where they do 2 different people for that, because it would be harder for them to travel, especially if one's way over here and the other one's way over there.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, back in the day, they used to travel close. So, but yes, we don't know exactly how the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows are going to go, but we do know that the pre-show panel is what they're saying is Renee Young, Booker T, Jerry Lawler. That's the main 3 they talked about. And, of course, they bring Lita on there quite a bit.
And that's also says she has a new job now.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So I don't know if her new job is coming from the back to be always out front with the people. Like now, or?
Well, Corey Graves, obviously, because he's exclusive on a announced team, does not need to be on pre-shows. He doesn't need to be, he's a Raw announcer, so of course he's not going to be a Raw pre-show. He doesn't need on the SmackDown pre-show. He needs to be exclusive to what he's doing right now. Mm-hmm. So Scott Stanford could continue to do, which actually this works out well, because you could do the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows with the same crew, because they do it in studio.
Yeah.
At the in Stanford.
Right.
So it'd be Scott Stanford. Ironically. That is weird. Same last name. Scott Stanford, Booker T, and Jerry Lawler, I think, is what they should do for the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Renee Young, she would not be doing those because she's on the road interviewing and stuff like that.
She's pay-per-view only, and they just bring them over for the pay-per-views.
Yes, which I like that.
And you can do that anytime. You know what's going to happen. You just go ahead and film it out.
Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't have to be a live pre-show, obviously. But now we're going to start going over the rounds. We'll give you each round to 5 people, and then we will discuss.
Yes, on SmackDown Live, when they started, they wasted no time. We got the first set of announcements.
Yes.
Round number 1 went to Raw as they announced the first pick. So they were in the
round number 1 was very heavy on Raw's side.
It was very heavy on Raw's side.
Which, I mean, they picked some great ones.
Yes, Raw took Seth Rollins, which everybody thought they was going to.
SmackDown's first overall pick was the WWE Champion Dean Ambrose.
And then Raw came back with the WWE Women's Champion Charlotte.
And then SmackDown Live got a great pick of their second overall.
Number two pick. Yeah,
number 2 pick for them, AJ Styles.
And then Raw came back with a great pick from NXT. Finn Bálor will now be.
Yes. So to me, round 1 was done perfectly.
Yes.
You have one NXT person in there. You make it a big deal.
Throw a shocker.
Throw a shocker in there and put your champions, your main women's champion, your main world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and place them. I like all that. And then in round 2, you had Roman Reigns for Raw.
Yep. Then SmackDown countered that with John Cena.
And then Raw has Brock Lesnar.
Which is kind of a shocker that people were shocked by that. Randy Orton was picked by SmackDown.
And then the WWE Tag Team Champions, The New Day, as a whole, as a team, not separated, went to Monday Night Raw, which, in this particular round, the placement was a little screwed up because they did say, supposedly, that number 1 pick overall was supposed to be Brock Lesnar for Raw.
But with all the
stuff, they dropped him down to number 8. And honestly, I like John Cena being on SmackDown. It gives that veteran appeal, just like when Undertaker used to be the main veteran on SmackDown. So I do like that. And then, of course, you have the other veteran. Both of these guys actually started on SmackDown back in 2002 and 3 in that area. And that is John Cena and Randy Orton. And both of them being faces, they can also form a great tag team when they have feuds with 2 individual heels.
Yeah.
And you put together a tag team, so that's great. And so the titles right now are getting very heavy for Raw. Because now you have the tag team and the women on a Raw. So we'll see where that goes from there. Round number 3.
Round 3, you had pick number 11, went to Raw with Sami Zayn.
Good pick. SmackDown Live.
Yes.
Bray Wyatt.
The 13th pick was Sasha Banks for Raw.
SmackDown Live got Becky Lynch.
And Raw finished up round 3 with Chris Jericho.
Round 3, I liked it.
Well, now you
have your underdog for the underground.
Yeah, you have the Jericho experience, you have women, and you have Bray Wyatt. So.
Yes. I mean, I like that round. A very good round. There's some later on that I feel like need to be higher up. But then that compromises your first 3 rounds on where everybody needs to be. But in round number 4, number 16 overall, the United States champion, Rusev with Lana. Again, a Raw pick. So now Raw has the tag team, women's, and U.S. championships.
And so with so many titles going to Raw, they had to take it. They didn't want to take it because of The Miz, but they took the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, with Maurice to SmackDown.
Yes, they did. And then up next on Raw, this is one of the ones we didn't really agree with, was Kevin Owens. We do not agree with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being kept on the same show.
No. And then SmackDown, with a big shocker, took Baron Corbin.
Very high up in my opinion.
Never thought Baron Corbin would go 19 on the draft. Never thought.
Very high up.
With so many names left at the bottom that hadn't been picked yet.
Right.
For Baron Corbin to go, that's somebody's speaking volumes for Baron Corbin.
Yes. Number 20 was Enzo and Big Cass for Monday Night Raw. So overall, this is very interesting because now you can have The Miz kind of rehash his stuff with when he talks backstage with Daniel Bryan and them kind of not agree with each other and things of that nature.
So you can put him in matches for them.
Right. So overall, round 4 was very good. Enzo and Cass staying together. You knew coming into this that I was going to have a rant if they separated the 2 of them.
Yeah.
So now we don't have a Carter's Corner for this, but in round number 5.
In round number 5, for the Raw was Gallows and Anderson, so the club is now on 2 different shows.
But that's another one that I did not want them to split the team. I was okay. No. I will say this: I was okay with AJ being by himself. Mm-hmm. I was not okay with splitting the tag team up.
Yeah.
But SmackDown Live, they got a pick from NXT. They said, you know what, Raw, you got a great tag team pick. We got a better one. Because they picked the greatest tag team ever from NXT, and that is American Alpha, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. Phenomenal pick.
Yeah, it's a very good pick. I love that pick for SmackDown. Coming in the next pick for Raw, I'm not surprised, The Big Show.
Up next,
a little high for Big Show.
Yes. Overall, number 24 pick for SmackDown Live is Dolph Ziggler which is another thing we talked about. We did not want Dolph and Baron on the same show, and they did end up doing that.
Yes.
So let's hope that feud does not move on.
No, we don't. And the last pick of round 5, the 25th pick, went another superstar for NXT, went to Raw, Nia Jax.
Very good
pickup for Raw.
Very good pickup for Raw. That's a
And if she goes face, Charlotte could be in trouble.
Yes, that's a good pick that, in my opinion, could go very far. So I love to see what's going on with that one.
Yes.
Round number 6, number 26 was from Raw, and that was the man that gravity forgot, Neville.
Number 27 for SmackDown Live, there was it's a woman. There was more women out there that could have went before her, but they took Natalya. I'm not happy with that pick.
And on Raw, number 28, Raw picked Cesaro, and we'll go over that in a minute.
Yes. And the 29th pick went to SmackDown in the 6th round, and it went to Alberto Del Rio.
And the number 30 pick, there was 30 picks overall on television.
Yes.
And the final Raw pick on television was Sheamus. And we want to go over real quick with Cesaro. He did a shoot work interview where
down here.
You do have it down there. After Cesaro was drafted as the 17th pick in the 6th round to Raw, the Swiss Superman cut a scathing promo backstage about how he wanted to be on the wrestling show SmackDown and not Raw, where the focus is more on the authority figures instead of the wrestlers. Just looking at the rosters and what the GMs talked about yesterday, which was on Raw, how SmackDown is going to be the wrestling show and all about the in-ring product. Honestly, that's part of the problem that you just... Wait, I jumped. Did I jump? Did I jump?
Ring product.
Ring product and all about the superstars and not necessarily about the GMs and that whole drama. I feel like I probably would have been a better fit for SmackDown. Honestly, that's part of the problem. You just asked me the question because I don't really care about the GMs because JoJo asked how would they get along.
Yes, I think that's the problem. No, it should be about the superstars and don't worry about how Mick Foley and Stephanie
I think Raw going forward needs to be about the superstars. It needs to be more about the performers of the ring and not how Stephanie and Mick Foley coexist. We're talking about Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, which is annoying me.
Annoying to me.
Annoying to him.
But I'm with him.
I'm definitely with him. I do believe he would have been a better pick for SmackDown. Honestly, it was a better fit with someone like Daniel Bryan, who comes from his background. Much better fit for him. And I also don't agree with how low he is on the television portion.
Yeah, he is.
Very low. Honestly, very low for Del Rio, Sheamus, and Cesaro, in my opinion. Big Show was way too. I think Big Show should have been in the Draft Center Live on the network. He should have just been on the network special. To me, Big Show was a waste of a pick on the main roster show on SmackDown.
You're right. But now we jumped over to the network. You jumped over and watched it on the Draft Central Live on the network. And round 7, we start off before Raw gets the first pick again. 31st pick goes to the Golden Truth. They kept the Golden Truth together, which you did like.
I'm glad they kept them together, and they're going to be a veteran tag team that'll work, that'll help them out.
Yes.
And then SmackDown countered that with the Usos at number 32 overall.
And then Raw went back and took Titus O'Neil for the 33rd pick.
SmackDown Live did what I said they should have done with Big Show, and they picked one of the older veterans in the network special, which is where Big Show should have been, and they picked Demon Kane.
It needs to be Demon Kane, no more Suit Kane.
Right.
And the last pick for Raw in the 7th round went to Paige, 35th pick overall. And that is shocking. Paige should have went TV, Paige should have went SmackDown, and Paige should have went a lot earlier.
Yeah, Paige should definitely be on SmackDown. She definitely shouldn't have been on the network special. And I think she even said something about not being happy about that. Round number 8, Raw number 36 picked Darren Young with Bob Backlund.
Kalisto went number 37 to SmackDown, which is a good pick.
And then, of course, we already knew that they were going to be separated because they said they were going to be separated, and Raw countered right away with taking Sin Cara.
I'm sorry for them. SmackDown came back and took Naomi.
Very good pick.
Been off TV for a while.
Very good pick. And because she had been on TV, she needed to be in the draft special part. She didn't need to be on the main roster part. And Raw took Jack Swagger.
And SmackDown on the 41st pick of the round 8 took another tag team, the Ascension. Hopefully they'll use, this will be a reboot for the Ascension and will be used right.
I honestly think that because there's less tag teams, because they separate the two shows, I think that'll give the Ascension a better opportunity to move forward.
I hope so.
Honestly believe. Round number 9, the Ascension, where'd they go again?
They went at 41st pick.
41st to SmackDown Live. Yes. So Raw counteracts that with the 42nd pick with the Dudley Boys going to Raw. And I like them being on Raw. And they also should have been, they're
and that one,
veteran tag team that should have been on the draft special.
Yes,
not
and
on
the round
TV.
8 was when they were going now 6 picks per round.
Ah, very interesting.
And up next, the 43rd pick in round 9, and went to SmackDown was Zack Ryder.
Yes, I think that'll help him a lot.
Fan favorite, yes.
I think that'll help him.
Yes.
And then Raw, which I don't know why anybody would want, but Raw picked Summer Rae at number 44.
A 45th pick, really low for a young guy who's going to have a lot of potential in the future. Went to SmackDown. Good pick for SmackDown. Apollo Crews is going to turn heads.
Yes, good pick, but very, like you said, very, very low. He should have been much higher up. To me, he should have been on the television part of it.
Yes.
But maybe they're trying to make him like a sleeper pick. Like you don't know, where he might end up on on the show. And then up next on 46, Raw, which again another veteran, just like the Dudleys, Demon Kane, and this is where Big Show should have been on the draft special. Raw picked Mark Henry.
SmackDown, drawing from 1 to 6 from NXT, went 47th in round 8. Alexa Bliss.
Yes.
To them.
Yes.
She will do great things.
Absolutely. It is a great pick, and overall, round number 9, very good.
Yes.
And having Alexa Bliss, that's another young person coming on to SmackDown. They're getting, SmackDown it seems to be getting, we'll talk about that in a minute, seems to be getting the most picks from NXT. So I'm really looking forward to that because then they get to build new characters. Round number 10, Braun Strowman went to Raw at number 48, so we now know he will not be with Bray Wyatt.
No, but could he be with Luke Harper if he returns into Raw?
Could he be? Because we don't know where Luke Harper's going.
The 49th pick, which you talked about earlier, for SmackDown, we mentioned them, Breezango. They kept them as a tag team, which is a great pick.
They should have.
And good for SmackDown.
They definitely should have kept them as a tag team because individually, they'll get released, in my opinion. Another one that could honestly be released, number 50, Raw picked Bo Dallas. And since we already know Heath Slater did not get drafted, so far it looks like that the social outcast will be separated because we don't know if Heath Slater will be on either show.
Right, and the first one to go was Bo Dallas.
Yes.
Up next for SmackDown, which I hated this pick, but I was
at least it wasn't on the TV part of it.
No, but I thought that she would be on Raw. I thought they would want her on Raw.
Flagship.
Yes. All read everything. Eva Marie.
Yeah, because why would they pick that for SmackDown when it's all about the wrestling show and she's not
you could
really...
switch Bo . and Eva Marie up and
I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
Up next for Raw, hopefully they could do something now that they've separated tag teams. The Shining Stars, overall number 52 pick.
And that's the same I'm going to say for the 53rd pick to SmackDown. Maybe the Vaudevillains can do something now with a smaller tag division on SmackDown.
Hopefully. But so far, these rounds have been pretty good. The only thing that I didn't really agree with was the placement of Big Show and the placement of Cesaro. And Paige, of course.
Yes, I mean, and
there was a few that they got wrong.
And Raw is a little more title heavy, too.
It is, yeah. They should have, to me, it should have been even. Yes, they definitely should have been even, but in round number 11...
the women's title goes back and forth and the tag go back and forth.
See, that's what they originally did with the original draft, and I like that.
Right now, it don't sound like it's going to be that way.
No, it sounds like it's going to be all different stuff.
Yes.
Round number 11, the final round here, number 54 on Raw was Alicia Fox.
SmackDown took Eric Rowan to make it even, bring him back to Bray Wyatt, who's also on SmackDown.
Which I think that's going to be good for Eric Rowan because by himself I don't think he'll survive.
No.
But Braun Strowman, they're going to see a lot of him because of how big he is.
So hopefully
he improves.
Not just another Ryback.
Right. Number 56 on Raw. So we're keeping together. The blonde bombshells, if you will. Dana Brooke. Hopefully I just gave y'all a name. Y'all give me some money.
Yes.
Up next.
Up next, the 57 pick to SmackDown from NXT. And to join his tag team partner, Mojo Rawlins.
Yes. Very happy about Mojo Rawley going to SmackDown Live. And we already know, if you watched the pay-per-view, that he has aligned himself already with Zack Ryder.
Help his buddy out.
Yes. Up next, number 58 pick. I hope they could do something with him. He looks like he's going to be by himself on Raw. This is Curtis. Oh, yeah. They got Bo Dallas. So I guess they could keep the...
I'd rather he go to SmackDown.
I think they should have separated them. I don't know we don't know where Heath Slater's going, so will the Social Outcasts stay together? We don't know. But they kind of...
Go ahead.
Curtis Axel, though, is a great pick, but I think that Heath Slater, I think that he went with the whole storyline. He is a social outcast, so they didn't pick him because he's an outcast. But
yes. But Curtis Axel, in my mind, I think he would be better off on SmackDown.
He would be.
I think he's going to get lost.
I
think he'll get lost on Raw.
Yeah, with all those big names and all those title belts and everything. But I do think that he would be a much better fit for SmackDown, where they give more opportunities. They're going, which they've always done more opportunities. When they used to have SmackDown, when it was always about the draft and it was always about two separate brands back in the day, SmackDown was always more about giving the younger guys an opportunity, and that's where they would showcase these young guys, give them their start, and then they would get drafted to Raw to be on the big show.
But, not the rest of the
No.
But the last pick,
even though there's supposed to be 60
round
picks,
11, there were 60 wrestlers, but one didn't make it.
Only 59 picks.
Only 59 picks. From NXT to SmackDown Live, Carmella.
Yes, which I'm very happy about that, except for the fact that I think that it would have been nice to put them with Enzo and Cass, but apparently they got different, better plans to keep them separated. I don't know why.
We got to keep them separated.
I don't know why.
But tomorrow night on Raw will be, on Raw will be great. We'll start a new era and see what SmackDown brings. I'm really anxious to see what they're going to do.
So. They've got a big roster for both shows. And
finally, on part 3, if you could do what 2 changes would you make and what?
What 2 changes would you make?
Yes, what 2 changes for over this draft would you do and what?
Well, the first thing I would change would be that I would not have drafted Brock Lesnar, period.
Yes.
Because it makes him seem like a bigger deal. Because they always want to do that. And also...
Go to either show then. You don't know.
You go to either show, feud anybody just like Undertaker or Triple H could. So it makes it a bigger deal. He's a part-timer, so he doesn't need to be drafted. Just like that was the reason they gave Triple H and Undertaker not being on there.
Right.
That's the big difference, and we already talked about the differences I wanted to do with the different people on there. I think the other change would have been, I think they would have been neat to have, since they had 6 NXT picks, to have 6 wild card picks.
Yeah.
And those wild card picks would have been people that are on neither roster. Free agents that are out there. That could have even been people from the Cruiserweight Classic. They could have picked them up in the draft. That would have been interesting. But would have been awesome, and I think would have been good because they were talking about it, and even Tommy Dreamer did an interview, and he said he was supposed to be part of the draft, but plans changed. So I think they should have had some guys on hand like Dreamer, like Carlito, like Shelton Benjamin, like MVP, Rhino, who's in NXT right now anyway, but wasn't part of the draft apparently.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of these veteran guys that could bring something to the table to help put over the younger guys and to even run a few feuds and actually get some wins, of course. You don't want to look weak.
No.
But I think 6 wild cards would have been interesting. It's kind of like how they have 3 or 4 different people in the Royal Rumble that are surprises. I think they would have benefited from having the 6 wild cards.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I like your thing. I like what you said about Brock. I think that's true too. That I would have changed that too. Brock could have been a free agent for the show.
Right.
And I also would have done pretty much every championship. Except for the United States and Intercontinental title. They are to the shows, world title, tag team titles, women's championship, either show.
Right. And
they're not closed into one brand, even the Cruiserweight title. Right. If they're going to do that, if you're going to make it exclusive, you make one exclusive for SmackDown Like the TV title, bringing the TV. WWE didn't have TV title. How about that?
Right, they never had one.
No, or how about bring back the European title, or bring back not the hardcore title.
But I agree that the Intercontinental should have been basically the brand championship for this show, and the US be the brand championship for that show, and then it's kind of like when there was the NWA, when it was a big deal,
right.
And your NWA champion Ric Flair would come into your territory and fight your, let's say, NWA Alabama champion. The Alabama champion is your heavyweight champion for that territory, for that brand, but he's not the world champion. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And then that way they could have had two different brands, two different territories, and the world champion could travel to both. The women's world champion travel to both, and the tag team travel to both. I totally agree with that.
And right now, I mean, if you're in a feud with somebody on this on Raw, then the woman could be over here, and the men's title could be over here on SmackDown right now.
Right.
And the tag teams, I mean, it depends on what feud you're in, will be wherever,
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's a funny couple of changes, but hey, we'll see what happens.
I mean,
everything's
kind of
we come back in a couple of weeks, we could be talking about new titles for both shows.
Right.
So,
a lot of questions will be answered, but that's pretty much it for our breakdown of part number 3. And part 4 on the list, we have our story time. It does not miss.
Yeah, we got more story time with father and sons who won the same wrestling titles.
The top 15 times WWE conveniently lied to us.
Always again, 9 and 8. We're getting on down this list. W stars that failed as the guy this week is number 14.
We're not going to say it right.
You're not gonna say it?
I'm not going to say it.
Ooh.
You got to come back to find out. We probably told you last week, but did you pay attention?
I don't know.
And then up next, the 13 biggest matches WWE should have booked in the 80s, but did not. And we're on the third one. What are we going to tell you what it is? You should come back to part number 4 to find out of those situations there.
That's a pretty good match. I wish they would have put
That would have been a great match.
Well, you know, WWE. Come on back to part 4, the list.
That does not miss.
I'm Mike Hogan.
I'm just a cop.
On this big episode 110, Top Rope Wrestling. We'll see you in a few clicks.